welcome to the Thru Podcast that we're trying to get going right now. We've got a lot of kind of input from different kind of sources just now, and one of the main things is the contributions from life coaches, which we're very lucky to have right now, which is from a partnership from the Jay Shetty Certification School. This is how we've collaborated so far with Shafaq and Kusum, and I suppose we're just around the table today and we're going to just talk a wee bit about what kind of brought us here, what kind of values basically kind of led us to kind of get these conversations underway. So I was thinking today we'll just kind of think on our own kind of journeys. So Shafaq, I don't mind kind of starting with you first. Kind of stuff you've started with is from self-discovery and authenticity. So I suppose the first thing to ask with these kind of things is just, what does that mean? I suppose what's the kind of importance of kind of self-discovery in your eyes? What's kind of why has that been such a big value in the kind of work you do?
Sure. So authenticity and self-discovery for me have been my value for a very long time. I just didn't know what it means, as you said, because we are not grown up thinking that we need to be true to ourselves. We need to know who we are. Nobody teaches us that. So as I was growing up, it was more about, I don't want to be fake. I don't want to say one thing and think the other behind someone's back and stuff like that. So I always was very particular about being real in front of people. But the other part of self-discovery is being real to yourself. And that is what I was missing. And growing up, I didn't feel it that way. But as I graduated, I was interacting with other people. I was doing the work that I was supposed to do, that I was good at. And all of those questions about, I don't like this, so what do I like instead? And if I'm not happy here, what am I happy with? And all those questions started coming up as soon as I graduated. And that was very important for me to figure out because I had always carried those values of being authentic. So for authenticity, I think it's just being very comfortable and confident in what you believe in. But to do that, you need to know what you believe in. And a lot of us don't really know what we believe in. We're just given some of the beliefs and we're imposed some of the duties, and we're just happy to take it as is, but never question what it is and if we really agree with that. So that is the point of discovering yourself and being authentic, and then understanding if we need to change some of our belief systems, if we need to reorganize the way we think, or we need to shift our language in our head to something that is more comfortable to us. And so one of these examples is my belief was that I'm not creative, but I was always fascinated by people who are creative. And so I just needed to rework that mindset and be like, okay, no, I can be creative. It's just not something that I've tried yet. So being this finance girl who's like very straightforward and logical and not creative and only thinks of money, to shift all of that because it was not giving me any happiness, to be okay with my own company and being comfortable with who I am and what I stand for is my journey with authenticity and self-discovery. And so far it has been great because it got me to what I've always wanted to do, but never realized that this was an option.
Yeah, so I mean, I think what I've picked up on from that is certainly that it's something you've always been very, very aware of, something you've always kind of had in your head. And I suppose something that I probably don't know an awful lot about is you started a career which was very much kind of maybe quite money driven. It was something that was very, I don't know, very career minded. I mean, just what can you kind of say on that exactly in terms of where your career led you to and what you thought that was the right path at one point?
Yeah, so it's funny because the reason I chose my degree was because I thought that I was an introvert. I'm still an introvert. That's fine. Nothing wrong with being an introvert. But someone said, you're an introvert, so you should get into accounting because no, you're not a salesperson. So you can't really talk to people and you don't have that energy. So go into accounting because they do number crunching too, and you don't get to talk to a lot of people. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I'll go be an accountant. And then I was in school and I did accounting, and nothing against accounting, but that I just didn't feel like that's something that I can do because I did internships. And I was like, no, this is not what I want to follow throughout my life. And so I switched to finance, which is again something that was part of my degree. And when I switched to finance, I was like, oh my God, it's so intimidating. The culture in the finance industry is very cutthroat, very competitive. And I am more of a collaborative person, not a competitive person. So for me, it was very hard to adjust into that culture. Yes, it was very exhilarating and it was a huge learning curve. But after I learned, let's say, financial modeling, I was okay, I don't feel like I want to be in this culture where all you're doing is looking at the bottom line, and how do you even impact people with this. And so I literally hired a life coach to figure this out with me, so I can understand what my values really are and where I feel the most excited. And that's how I kind of discovered that I like looking into people's challenges, and I like solving problems that are more existential than financial. And that's how I came into this life coaching field, with the help of Jay Shetty, my own life coach, and a lot of Mind Valley seminars and YouTube videos.
Wow.
And I think that's incredible, Shafaq. And you're just, Matt, if I may jump in here, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I think Shafaq is being really humble because the journey that she's been on just in this past 1 year, how much she's turned her life around, I think that's really admirable. And she's not talking about that, but to have that awareness even at that young age, because people might look at her and they're like, oh, you're just 23, 24, what do you know about life? But even at such an young age to think about, oh, something is not clicking for me, to have that awareness at a very young age is not an easy thing, because people go by years doing the same thing that they're doing and they get stuck in that same space and place for a long, long time until it's very late. And she took things in her own hands and she's done whatever she's done with her life. In the last 1 year, she's completely turned her life around, and now she's sitting on the other side being a life coach herself. So I think that's really incredible.
Thank you so much, Kusum. Yes, I tend to underplay that part. I feel like I was very fortunate to have the opportunities that I had to do what I was able to do. And that's also important to acknowledge, that you need a good support system to be able to do what I was able to do. I had my parents that didn't stop me from just quitting and taking off and not letting them know when I'm coming back. That's very hard for parents to accept and be okay with. But they saw me with anxiety attacks. They saw me panicking. They saw my depression. And they're like, okay, do whatever you have to do, but just fix yourself. And that's what I did. And it takes a lot of trust and faith in the support systems that I had, in the friendships that I had to get to that point. So yes, I did the work myself, but I couldn't have done that without, the community that I had, the parents that I have. It's very, very important for everyone to be supportive of someone who's going through something. And that's how I focus on my niche too, because if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, which I really did not, I had a very negative relationship with myself. I couldn't breathe in my own company. It was that bad. And that's how I realized that I need to fix something, because you need to be okay with just being by yourself. That's very, very important. A community is important to get you to the point where you're okay with being yourself.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing as well, I think I'm under no illusions that the path to life coaching, you'll know better than me, the both of you, I'm under no illusions that the path to life coaching only comes from a crisis point or something that needs to dramatically change. But from your own both experiences, do you feel that that's something that maybe played a part, that you want to change, that it got to a point where I need to change something?
For me personally, it was never about I need to change something in my own life, because I think the more I got into life coaching is when I realized that that is something that I had already been doing with my own life. I did not know that that is what it was, life coaching, but there was no structure around what I was doing. I was always someone who tried something. If something was not going right, of course, I will cry, bring the roof down, throw a big fuss. But once I'm done with that, because of course I need to let it all out, right? So to be able to take the next step. So that's how I've been. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do next? So I can look at figuring out solutions or changing this about my life. If I'm not happy in one space because of whatever reason, it could be my health or it could be my relationship or anything, even my career. I've always been somebody that, okay, what can I do next to make sure that I'm happy where I am? So for me, it was always about identifying that and making the necessary changes. And the changes used to be several times very small, but with big results. You don't realize that when you're making the changes or even when you're thinking about that, right? It can be as simple as, oh, my schedule, especially given the current circumstances, we are all at home right now. So when this happened, my husband is working from home, my son is not going to school, and I'm working from home. So our schedules, right, took a toll on us, and we were not spending time with each other at all. We were just trying to take it day by day. And after the first week, we are like, you know what, this is not working out. What can we do? And we decided and discussed that, okay, I'm going to take care of our son for X number of hours during the day, where you can have your dedicated time to work on whatever it is that you need to work on, and you get the same. So having that, I mean, this is a very small example, but these kinds of changes, when you see that something's not working out for you in your own life, when you make those small changes, they can, have big impact on how you can, shape your life.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm taking from that is that structure is a big part of that. And because you seem like the kind of person that would, through your own work, is always about taking a step back and say, especially with your work now, is a case of helping other people in their lives. Is that a huge part of it for you? Is it is helping people find structure in their lives? And I suppose just speak a wee bit about how important structure itself is, and just kind of just taking a step back and saying, this is what I need to sort. And you made a good example there, I suppose, as well, on the current situation. I suppose that was a very kind of test in the practice now in terms of how you live your life. So just how important is structure, really, I suppose, in general?
Structure, yes, but even having the awareness of why am I struggling or why am I stressed every single day? People don't even realize that it could be stress, because they always attribute stress or not being happy with where life is to things that are completely unrelated to what actually is the real problem, right? Here, it could be this specifically exclusively was, for me, in this case, was time management. But then several times it could be that you have issues in your own relationship where you don't have the basic understanding between partners, right? So it could start from there, where one thing can spiral out of control and impact other aspects of your life. So just having that awareness, is this happening because I really don't have the time, or is this happening because my husband and I don't have good communication established between us, right? So having that kind of awareness, I think more than structure, once you have the awareness, people will be more willing to try. Okay, if I tried this, is this going to help me change the circumstance for myself and my family? So bringing that awareness, rather, I would say first, and then saying that, okay, should I be complaining about this the next 1 week, or should I be actually testing something else to see if this is going to help us, get a break during the day?
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree. And Kusum is very good at first being aware and also then being honest about it with herself and with other people. I have encountered people who would know what's wrong, and they wouldn't be honest about it with themselves or with the others that are involved. And it doesn't really help the situation, because again, it gets into miscommunication and misunderstanding, and you're not solving the problem, you're just delaying it. And when I started talking to Kusum, like it was like from the get-go, it was really clear that she's very, very honest about everything that she feels. which really helps with awareness. Really helps with awareness, because as she says, she's very unapologetic about a lot of the things, which is amazing to be at, because then you can implement whatever you want to implement to a problem that you acknowledge first. You being aware is, yes, the first step, but also being honest about what the problem is gets you to a solution, because otherwise you're just running around in circles.
My next question then is, I suppose that you both deal with clients, and from what I see from the outside sometimes is that I suppose clients are coming to life coaches because they want change. Now, what is the first kind of trigger points you see then? Do you see that people are not being honest with themselves? Do you see, is there kind of signs of that with clients, or is there, or do you always think either way self-awareness is the first thing to work on with clients?
I think it's a little bit of both, and I'm sure Shafaq agrees, because what happens is, like she was saying, we have so many self-imposed beliefs that are completely opposite of what the reality is. And also the society or family has so many beliefs that they impose on you, which is not even true, right? Like whatever Shafaq was saying earlier is that she was told that because she's an introvert, she needs to, go get an job of an accountant, which is completely false, because she was put in a circumstance where she went into the finance world, and I have been part of the finance world, and I know what it is. Unless you're an extrovert there, or unless you're putting yourself out there in situations where you're uncomfortable, you're no way going to make, go up the ladder, right? So that is completely, I don't know if Shafaq experienced that with her job, but this is what I have seen. But an introvert could also be a creative. They could be sitting in the comfort of their home and painting, right? It's at the end of the day, everybody's self-limiting beliefs or self-doubts get imposed onto you, and then you make that your own and you run with it. So sometimes, one, you're not even being honest with yourself, because you have all of these various voices in your head which are not completely true, and you've made that your reality. I think that's where the problem lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And as she said, it's a bit of both, because you need to have awareness to even think that there's a problem. Sometimes their light bulbs go off when they see something on social media and they relate to it, and they're like, oh, this is what I do, maybe I need to change something. Just having that check-in with yourself with, okay, how satisfied you are at this given moment. Are you frustrated with something that you want to do and you're just not able to do it right now because XYZ is stopping you from doing it? And those XYZ issues could be self-imposed. It could be things that you think are external and you don't have any control over, so there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But once you get into that conversation, you figure out that there's so much that you can do about it, versus what you cannot do about it. The things that you can control are very, very limited. You can still work within your circumstances, and that's what I think we both are trying to convey to everyone.
Excellent.
And I'll add to that one more thing. One of the biggest issues that I see within my own network, or because I'm a blogger and I spend so much time on social media consuming so much content, is that people are also somewhere very happy about complaining about the problems rather than trying to find the solution to the problems.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Oh, this is going wrong. This is going wrong. This is going wrong. Yes, sure. That is going wrong for everybody else. But like Shafaq's story, right? Where you're a 23-year-old, life is not going as you want, but she said, I'm going to quit my job. She of course, she's being humble when she says that she had the support. Yes, it is very much important, but then to take that first step is always on you. You need to be willing to take that first step. But people are happy complaining that, oh, my family support is not there, or I don't have enough, whatever, right? Yeah. But are you willing to take that step instead of making that excuse for yourself? Then resources somehow will show up for you if you really want to make that happen. Yeah. So I think that's where the fundamental issue right now that I see with a lot of people is they're happy complaining rather than trying to find a solution.
Yeah. So I think it's quite circumstantial, I think, isn't it? I think everybody finds finds kind of some kind of release in blaming the circumstances, which is very relevant right now. And to kind of to share something on my kind of own experience with that, I found very much recently that there's so many things I want to do, and I think one thing I kind of rely on a lot is, I mean everybody needs help from other people, but I feel like sometimes I see a lot of over reliance on other people, from myself, from other people. And I think that is one of the kind of things that, do you think that dilutes or always just deflects away from building a relationship with yourself? Because one thing, which I'll go into in a minute, Kusum, is something that you say a lot, is one thing I get from you is all about empowerment of the self. And I suppose that is a lot to do with control. A lot of that's to do with just not, like you said, not blaming other circumstances, not blaming other people, not finding reasons to complain, but instead work internally and build that empowerment of yourself. And what I want to touch on as well is that I think I want to kind of see where the alignment of that is. With Shafaq, you talk a lot about authenticity, and I suppose what we're trying to do is just kind of articulate really what they two, or just how they two look, I suppose, and how relevant they kind of are, both the kind of qualities are.
So for me, this is how I look at it. In order for you to be authentic with yourself and acknowledge everything that you are, you first need to like yourself with all your flaws and your imperfections. That's important. Without judgment, you need to be able to accept yourself. That is the only way you would be confident being yourself with other people. So that's step one, I think. And then to not blame circumstances, again, it's about, because it's easier to put the blame on other people or other situations so that you don't have to do the work. That's very, as you said, it's very deflecting. So like, you don't have to put in the amount of work that you could put in given the circumstance. So let's, for example, say that COVID has stopped you from going out and meeting other people that you need to meet in order to do a project, right? Now, you don't have Zoom, but that's not something that you're even ready to look into, because you have this picture in your mind that this is supposed to be this particular way. And because it's not this particular way, and COVID is a very valid excuse, you're not even going to, think of other alternative creative ways to solve the problem.
Well, that's what self-limiting is, isn't it? That sounds like self-limiting in a nutshell. So yeah, it's so relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will add to what Shafaq is saying in terms of being authentic, or being accepting of yourself wholly. I say something a lot, because being secure with your insecurities, I think that's where it all is. Because as long as you make peace with me, everybody has flaws, right? Who doesn't? So as long as you're okay with the flaws, if that's not something that is important to you, why do you even care about that flaw? Is that because somebody else cares about it, or is that because you really care about it and it's important to you? Is that a priority for you?
If it is a priority, then you have the resources to go and change that. That is something that you need to, nobody else would do it for you. Nobody's coming to save you. If you have a problem with your flaw, acknowledge it first. You're human, you have flaws, but then also work towards changing it. There's no problem in wanting to change something you don't like. I changed about 90% of what I was before. And it took a while, but I did it. And I'm very proud of that.
We are very proud of that too.
You should be, yeah. I think what I was going to touch on is that it's a fantastic thing you just said, because a minute ago, about teaching people how to be secure with their insecurities. Now, I really like that. I
love that.
And what I want to kind of add to that, or just kind of probe on, is you both know that our platform deals with a lot of mental health. So we're tackling a lot of barriers to mental health and like help and self-help and things like that. So, and what we hear a lot from people, that even people that are kind of quite brave to share their stories and engage in the conversation, is that they are very open about being insecure, or people in general can be very open about being insecure. Like, we could have a conversation and, you could like tell me to do something, I said, no, I'm too insecure to do that. I'm not secure enough. Do you know, so that for me tells me that people are maybe at a stage of accepting that, but don't want to do anything about it. Is there a kind of, not a grey area, but an area in there where people are happy just to sit? They maybe go over that accepting point. They're maybe slightly more secure about their insecurities because they've accepted it, but is there an argument that they don't want to, build on that? They don't want to improve on that? Is that something that's holding a lot of people back?
Because that's scary, Matt. Right? You could be secure about your insecurities, sure, because like you said, the people that I have met who have mental health issues, more power to them, right? Because they're amazing. They're so open and honest and vulnerable about sharing their story with you. But at the end of the day, I do feel like as people on the other side, we need to offer them that platform. And I see that missing, right? Because the people on the other side, we don't know the real struggles that they go through. Maybe we are not even able to relate to them on that level, but if we go into a conversation with an open mind and make them feel like this is a safe space where you can talk about anything, and I'm not going to be here to judge you, but I'm going to be here to actually hear your story, understand you, and offer you the kind of support that you need. I think that's where it's scary for them, because they don't know what they are going to encounter once they embark on that journey, because they're not exposed to that kind of support. Because one, I don't know if their family and friends, they even understand the struggles they go through, because some people that I've spoken to so far, they have never really gotten that kind of support at all, ever. So they've gone through this battle by themselves for so long, and they've made peace with that, and they've not looked outside their own network to even venture out and see, where else could I possibly find the support that I need?
Yeah. And as I can stand witness to that, because for 10 years, Matt, I was just in the bubble that I have depression. There's nothing I can do about it. Might as well not even try. Because I've been hearing that depression is not curable. And I'm sure that there are conditions that are not, or, I cannot speak for everybody. But for myself, I didn't try for 10 years. And the only reason I tried was because anxiety was physically limiting me from functioning. That was my trigger. But for depression, I didn't do anything. And I would have been in that hole if not for anxiety. And I thank anxiety for it. But I wasn't aware. I was not brought up in a system or a society where talking about my depression was okay. Because you have to be grateful for what you have. You have nothing going wrong in your family, in your social circle, in your career. You have everything you want and you're still unhappy. How ungrateful of you, to just get over that guilt of why am I not still satisfied when I have everything. I have amazing parents. I have an amazing friend group. I'm studying in an elite school. I graduated with distinction and all of those things that are supposed to be achievements, but I was not feeling any of it. To be able to open up with all of that and say, I'm not trying to be ungrateful, but I really don't feel happy. It's you don't have a lot of platforms to do that with. And because they're not prevalent, you don't even go out and find them. Where would you, who goes on the internet and goes, I want to open up about depression, where do I go?
Totally. I think what you're saying there is that we kind of limit ourselves to believe that that these kind of feelings or like you say, depression, is that we invalidate it. We somehow subconsciously or very consciously sometimes invalidate it. And I think it goes back as well, which I think this is really fascinating, just given what we spoke about today, is that is it easier for us to therefore complain, or do we find it easier to complain because other people have this invalidation? Is it easier for us to complain and kind of say other people are going to invalidate it, therefore I'm going to feel invalidated? Or are we kind of saying ourselves that
we were never given an opportunity to be open, I think, about depression, or be have that safe place where we're not judged for why we're depressed. Because I get asked a lot, why were you depressed? And I'm like, man, I don't know.
No,
There's
that's not.
usually no reason, right?
Why did you get a fever?
I don't know. I didn't ask for it. So when people just go with why are you depressed, there's this judgment imposed on you, because that question itself is very judgmental. Like, I didn't do anything wrong to be depressed. I didn't ask for it. Why are you asking me why I'm depressed? It's easier for us to complain then, because what else can we do? We're not aware that we can do more. We're not aware that there are tools and people and communities that can help you to empower yourself. I think that's where the biggest struggle is. And also the side effect of depression is, it's like the swamp where you just get stuck in and you don't want to get out of it. I was at a point where I didn't want to get out of depression because it was more comfortable than being healthy. I knew that space. I knew that sadness, and it made me feel comfortable. As sad as it sounds, it was more comfortable than doing the work, getting the help, and being happy, because being happy was a scary thought then. I was like, oh, I don't know how to be happy. I don't know how that would feel like. So it was unfamiliar. Yeah. As she said, it was scary. And so I didn't want to get out of it. I wanted to stay there.
And also the sad part about that, I see this to be a twofold problem where, Matt, it's like Shafaq was saying, she would get asked, oh, why are you depressed, right? It goes back to the fact that how limited our own knowledge of depression is. As a human, I don't really know much about depression. Until very recently, I did not know that this is so prevalent in the society that a lot of people, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but then when I saw the stats, it was shocking.
Huge, yeah.
Yet you never really hear people talk about it because it's taboo to talk about depression. Exactly. People don't acknowledge that. And like Shafaq was getting questioned, why are you depressed? You have everything. Because for me, if I had no knowledge about it, I would obviously go and ask her the same question, not knowing anything about it. So it again goes back to everything, the amount of awareness you have about a certain topic. And if you don't really have the awareness, making that effort to then go gain that, at least a little bit of knowledge before you approach somebody, because then I can make her feel really terrible about her own condition or whatever it is that she's dealing with, just by asking her that, oh, why are you depressed? You have everything. You're pushing her deeper and deeper into the same well, instead of helping her come out of that.
Absolutely. I think
because
you go, sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying that if she's someone I respect and admire, and she's asking me the question of why am I depressed, I'm going to perceive it as like, I'll be angry with myself. I'll be like, why the hell am I depressed? And then I'll force myself. Yeah. And I will force myself to not be depressed. And that would, again, sink me deeper, because whatever you resist persists. And like if you're not acknowledging it with the right tone and love, you cannot get rid of it either.
Yeah, and you're never addressing the root cause there, right? Because you don't know that she really needs help, professional help to deal with that. Because nobody is offering her that help. Just like how people, because we all know and assume that this is how you go about, if you're suffering with fever or whatever else it is, you go to the doctor, you see a doctor. If you have flu, you take medication and you should be all right. If you then don't go get the help, then people will say that you're stupid. Are you stupid? Why are you not going to see a doctor? Because we know that that's how you go about dealing with flu. But when it comes to depression or mental health matters, people don't really know that that's what you're supposed to do. Go get the help you need, because you need to acknowledge that just like flu, this is very valid. Anybody can get it. There's no rhyme or reason behind it, right?
One more thing I would point out is, even if you do go get the help, that's also like, people look at you with pity Or like, it's like, poor Shafaq, she's going for therapy. Can we please just normalize therapy and life coaching for
Yeah,
things
totally.
that are normal? Okay, it's okay to go for therapy and then not go for therapy. It's okay to hire a life coach to figure out a challenge and then thrive in whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Just because you're going for therapy doesn't mean that you are a weak person, or some people are supposed to give you, I don't know, sympathies, or you need to go into self-pity as to, oh my God, I'm going to therapy, something's wrong with me. Like, all of these things come up when you do think of therapy. I didn't go for therapy for 10 years. I knew it was there. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to feel like I'm weak or I have something wrong with me. I just wanted to deal with myself.
And it's also changing the narrative there, Shafaq. I think, like you said, going to therapy is seen as weak, which is very valid, right? Changing the narrative and saying going to therapy is not weak, but that's courage. You're acknowledging that there is a problem. You're acknowledging that you need the help. You're acknowledging that you're ready to take the next step. So that takes a lot of courage to come out of your own shell and say that I'm going to take action, instead of just being locked up inside my room and just be depressed or whatever, suffer through whatever it is that I'm suffering through right now. So that's changing the narrative right there, saying that this is courage and not weakness or strength.
Yeah, it's so important. I think it's one of those things as well that a lot of the time we think these things because we already think it ourselves. So we're very sensitive to other people saying the words weakness and things like that, because it's almost like a very negative form of confirmation bias. And it's something I've certainly found anyway, just because, I mean, anytime I've struggled with something, I know in my head what I think the worst that people will think is. And that's the key thing, that you're always thinking the worst and you always feel the most isolated. So I think it's just, like I said, it's a case of normalising things like therapy. It's normalising these kind of support networks because everybody knows that it's not a weakness. Everybody knows that. It's just that, but there are these very subconscious kind of attitudes that just always exist, unfortunately. And that's why I'm really just kind of bringing back to the whole kind of life coaching thing. Something I'm very fascinated in is that it's not. It's always a very kind of positive thing, and it's always a very introspective thing. You know, I feel like I'm not sure who may have said it. If one of you said this, please say. But it's always about, like, you already have the tools, and you're just showing them how to use the tools. So I've seen that very recently, and I thought, you know, that's very true. And I suppose, and it's all these kind of real kind of keywords that I always note down, things like perspective, positivity, self-empowerment. I mean, how common are these across life coaches in general, and why is that, and why do people need to buy into these, and why do people kind of seek these qualities?
So if I were to sum up really quickly, first of all, just like therapy, people think that you go to a life coach if you have a problem. But the way I see it, or at least what I've learned, is you don't go see a life coach only because you have a problem. Right. You go see a life coach if you have a goal in life, any goal. Yeah. If you have a goal worth pursuing in your life, then it's worth having a life coach, right? It's as simple as that, because I keep getting approached by people who say that, oh, this is the time where people are going through a lot of mental health issues. I very much acknowledge that. I know that. But at the end of the day, that is not all a life coach does. I could be going to see a life coach because I want to excel in my career. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, I know exactly what I need to do to get a promotion in my job. But if I had a life coach, I would get that promotion 1 year into the job rather than 2 or 3 years into the job. They basically, as life coaches, I empower you on the other side by showing you how whatever you're doing, because we all have obstacles. We all are our own enemies when it comes to implementing the action plan that we have. That's a very thin line. You have every skill and knowledge in your toolkit, but when it comes to implementation, you're not doing that because something is holding you back. It could be your limiting belief, it could be your current circumstance, whatever it is. So as a life coach, I hold that or reflect that back to you to say that this is all there is. This is the problem is just this small, and you're making it this, big mountain. So how can you now Now that you're aware that this is a problem, how can you overcome this obstacle and then just keep focusing on your goal and get that promotion in maybe less than a year, right? So that's how I see it.
I feel like the term life, we perceive it as sad moments rather than, happy moments. So it's kind of like, it's something that just popped in my head. It's kind of like when you do life coaching, it's about sad things, not happy things. So if you change that into, do you do fitness training with a trainer? Yes, you do. Do you have a performance coach for something? Yes, you do. Do you have an acting coach? Yes, you do. So why don't you have something for your life that is not just for sad things? It can be happy things as well. You want to improve communication with your partner. Okay. That's not something that's sad necessarily. You're not fighting every day, but you want it to be better. Why can't you do that and work with someone? It's almost like talking. I don't want to say talking to a friend, because the difference is that friends are not trained to keep their biases aside. So what as life coaches do, we, as she said, we hold a mirror and reflect it back to them, but we also don't give our opinions and our biases into the conversation. It's completely them. So with a friend, you might have biases that, your friend might know something of you that you have projected, but that's not real you. Or your friend might know the person you want to have that improved communication with, and they would suggest you things that are, let's say, in line with that person, but that's not in line with your authenticity again.
Yeah.
So, that's where the difference between a life coach and a friend comes. But we all know that we get better results when we talk about things. And not
and at the end of the day, your friend also has a perception about you, which might not even be the real you. Only you know the real you. And as a life coach, the difference, like Shafaq was saying, is I don't have any bias. No matter what you as a client get out of our coaching sessions, there's no hidden agenda for me there, right? For me, my only goal is to make sure that you are getting the most out of your own life and you're living your best life. That's all there is. I have zero perception about you as a coach versus friends. We all have opinions about our friends. We all are ready to raise our hands.
That's why we don't coach them.
Fix this about you when it's your friend.
I mean, I think this thing, I think we always think we know what's best for our friends based on our perceptions of them, and that, probably a bit of good advice there is do not coach your friends for that reason. But
not when you're starting out, at least. Like I genuinely got angry at a friend when I was trying to coach him. And I'm like, why don't you get this? So I have to just stopped attempting that.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think it's a good note to kind of end on, that that it is a totally objective thing. That I think you've both said in separate occasions before that it's very mission orientated. The career path, it's a very mission orientated job. It's very mission orientated, like tasks that you want to do every day in life. It is one of those things that gets you up and gives you something real purpose for. So I think it's a really good note to kind of just to kind of sum that up. And yeah, it's amazing to see that it's actually impacting people already, and that people are seeing that, and it's a very objective process as well, which is very important. And I suppose that is, well, I think through time, clients will have that objective personality towards themselves as well, because they really need to, because that's the real biases that you need to get rid of. That's the real self-limiting beliefs that you need to get rid of. And I think that's really, really empowering stuff. And, hopefully that is kind of where people will get to,
Yeah, I just want to add.
Sorry, go ahead, Shafaq.
Okay. I just want to add that we're very fixated on answers, because in school we're taught to, have the answers ready when we're asked. So we're very fixated on being prepared and getting the answers. And we get frustrated when we don't know the answer, because not knowing the answer is supposed to be a bad thing. But I would really encourage people to just ask questions first. We don't figure out our questions and we always want answers. Let's just reverse that and ask the right question first. And that's what we do as life coaches. Ask the questions and the answers will just come from you. And that's how everything in life should be, at least from my perspective. I don't know if
That's,
Kusum agrees.
that's an excellent point, Shafaq. I completely agree, because more often than not, we are afraid to ask the tough questions because you're scared to discover again what comes out of asking those questions, right? So it's easier to just be assertive and state things a certain way rather than ask the questions and dig deeper. And as life coaches, that's exactly what we do. We are here to ask you the right questions so you are ready to, we don't even, it's not even like I'm forcing you to go into places within yourself that you are not ready to. It's a slow process and you take it at your own pace, right? When you're comfortable, but we make sure that you're comfortable tapping into those areas of your own life. And as a life coach, that's what we do. And Shafaq and I come from completely different backgrounds. We are even generations apart, I think, when it comes to age. But at the end of the day, being life coaches and being trained by the same Jay Shetty Certification School, we both have, in the end, we both have the same kind of mindset, or we both are on a very similar mission where we want to empower the other individual sitting on the other side. And that's all that matters to us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love these conversations. It's like totally, it's so positive, but in the right way. It's a very, very constructive positive, because it's okay being positive and everything, but that's like it's so constructive. And one thing I'm very humble enough to admit is that I learn something every time I speak to one of you guys, and I'm always very, very, very intrigued to learn about the kind of work that you do as well. And I'm very grateful that how many lives you are positively impacting as a result from the work you do. So, just on that point, like I say, I'm very, very, very grateful to have you, contributing to the site as well. Just on that point, Shafaq and Kusum's content can be seen on Thru. So we'll always link, their work, which is just full of basically your kind of life coaching tips, your kind of real kind of self-discovery journeys, and just really, really helpful content. And like I said, guys, I know this won't be the last time we'll all kind of meet up as well and have these kind of conversations. So I really hope that these just continues doing what you are doing.
No, thank you so much, Matt. I think thank you so much for the opportunity and bringing us both on here, and having us share our opinions and voice our concerns at the same time. We both feel really fortunate, and we feel blessed to be where we are right now. And we do acknowledge that not everyone has the same gifts that we've been given. And our mission at the end of the day is to make sure that we are making much more than just owning the gifts or the blessings, to have a larger impact in the community and give back in the way that we both are capable of giving back.
Yeah.
And to add to that, again, very, very grateful, as Kusum said, because we all are so aligned in our mission, and it's amazing when, you collaborate with people who have the same values. So I feel the same way. And as she said, we are given gifts, but our job is not to give the gift that we have to someone else. Our job is to get them to find the gifts that they have been given. So everyone is gifted in one way or another. We just need to be aware of that and use that to our own advantage. And that's all. So here's to sharing more gifts, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And helping people find their own gifts. That's basically our mission, because we've been given, I think we've been both fortunate, or we've had the support system or whatever. We found our way, we had the support system. And not a lot of people have that. And our mission is to make sure that we are here sitting, holding the mirror, helping them see the gifts that they already have and own the gifts that they have been blessed with.
Yeah, amazing, guys. Honestly, you both speak so well on that, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.